Hey everyone, welcome to Steven Universe, the show where we talk about the universe of Steven Universe. I'm your host, Victor Frost. First things first, the news. So, you may have noticed that August 6th did not bring with it a new episode of Steven Universe. Instead, we got a new episode of We Bare Bears, which is cool. It's a good show, but why no Steven U? Well, for reasons unknown, the start date of new episodes has been pushed to sometime in September. Now, we don't have a precise start date, but I've gotten in touch with Cartoon Network, and as soon as I know anything, I'll let you know too. Because that's what I'm here to do, folks. Anyways, on to the meta moment. Yes, the part of the show where we talk about the show has had a name this entire time. Anyways, I've already begun writing the fan fiction that you guys have assigned to me as penance for being late with the last episode. In fact, the prologue is already uploaded onto fanfiction.net, so link in the doobly-doo. I've actually got a pretty good idea of where this fanfiction is going to be going, and I've set aside time to work on it every week. So you guys should be seeing regular updates to that if you are so inclined to continue reading it. One more thing before we get to the review segment. I am really happy to announce that not only is this the 30th episode of this show, but we've actually also recently passed 3,000 subscribers. So, I guess good things really do come in threes. Thank you all so much for watching and supporting this show and sharing it with your friends. And I hope for the foreseeable future, I can continue to provide the same level of quality of work that you guys have come to expect from this show. Thank you for watching. But enough about me, let's see what you folks have been up to. It's time for a review. One of my favorite things about this fandom is just how varied the art is. And nothing quite highlights the level and degree of variation like redraws. A redraw is when an artist takes a frame from the show and recreates it. Now, the ones that create perfect carbon copies of the frames are certainly good, but the ones that stand out, at least to me, are the ones that reinterpret the frame in their own style. Dav19, or Anastasio from Russia, took some frames from the episode Jailbreak and redrew them in her very own anime-esque style. As a bit of a twist, she added things like speech bubbles and other elements to create a brand new narrative for those scenes. But what I think really makes this an interesting piece to look at is the artistic style differences between the original and hers. The character's anatomy is much more realistic, as is the use of light and shadow, giving an appreciable sense of depth. The fabrics are much more detailed too, creasing and hanging rather than being seemingly glued to the character's skin. It's really quite good. So, what's the verdict? Well, for an unprecedented 2 episodes in a row, I am giving 5 out of 5 Stevens. This art is really great. If you like this show, then you like Steven Universe, analysis, or both. And no matter which one it is, there is something in this bit of art for you. So, go hit the link in the doobly-doo and check it out. It's definitely worth your time. Now it's time for us to see what else we learned from the Steven Bomb Sardonyx. This episode, we're going to be covering some of the stuff we didn't get to last time. So, if you haven't seen the Steven Universe episodes, Cry for Help, Keystone Motel, Onion Friend, Historical Friction, and Friendship, now it's time for you to pause this video, go watch that one, then come back. Don't worry, we'll wait. This is your spoiler alert. New episode, new lore. Let's see what we learned. But you know what? I've been spending a lot of time in this studio, what with client work and my podcasts and all the other editing stuff I do. You know what? How about we take this one outside? That cool? Excellent. This is nice. No hot studio lights in my face the entire time. No stuffy studio because I had to shut off the air conditioning because, you know, to cut down on noise in an otherwise noiseless studio. Just, you know, you and me and all of Los Angeles in the background. This is nice on a beautiful sunny day. And sure, it might be a little bit noisier, but you know, I've got my lavalier here and you know, we're doing okay, I think. Yeah? All right. And you know what? Let's cut down on some of the professionalism a little bit too, because let's relax. Let's be a little bit more cash. Okay, so I've got my notes here, but before we get to all this, can we just talk about Sardonyx for a second? I mean, oh my God, she was amazing. I mean, she's just so bombastic. And oh my God, that laugh, every time I heard it, I flash back to like every 90s anime ever. New favorite fusion, hands down. Okay, so on to actual story stuff. I think secondary to Pearl and Garnet's arc, the big story from this Steven Bomb was how Amethyst became sort of the team mom for a while. I mean, if you look at it, she was working in the background the entire time trying to calm the waters between Pearl and Garnet. The story tapped into a lot of just how frustrated she felt during it. Not, you know, sad or you know, just generically upset like Steven or angry like Garnet, but just frustrated. And I think it all starts with the moment that she fully realizes what Pearl was up to and why. Unfortunately, it's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. By the time you actually realize what's going on, it's too late because the events have already been set into motion. It's not like you don't want to do anything about it, you do, but it's kind of too late because it's effectively already happened. So she does her best to try to sort things out. She lets, you know, Pearl talk with her about it, and we see that happening at the end of Keystone Motel, and she tries to get Pearl and Garnet to talk during friendship. In the span between those, she got to talk about how she feels about the whole situation with Vidalia, which was invaluable. If you've ever been caught up in some bad drama, especially if you're not a direct party to that drama, you know just how good it feels to be able to talk about it with someone who's not a party to it at all. Just because of how good it feels to be able to talk about it. You don't have to worry about looking like you're taking sides, whether you are or not, and you don't have to worry about filtering yourselves to not hurt the feelings of someone who's already vulnerable. You can be honest and expect honesty back, because the person you're talking to has no stake in it. It also showed us how people can often see qualities in us that we ourselves don't see. And it touches on the point of relying on others for strength, something that's brought up at the end of the arc. This show has a great sense of how different drama in real life is from fiction. And it highlights this by showing us the difference between life and fiction in The Crying Breakfast Friends. They wrap up their drama really quickly and cleanly, and that's just not how drama works. In real life, drama is messy and complicated and dragged out and takes a long time to fix, if it ever does get fixed. In fiction, drama is wrapped up quickly and cleanly, just as quick as possible to get right back to the status quo. There's also a lot of shame going around in this arc. The shame that Amethyst felt from getting out of control as Sugalite the last time she and Garnet fused is what precipitates Steven into helping her by going out and, trying to catch Peridot. When Pearl's deception is revealed, she's the one that's now feeling shame and trying to prove herself to Garnet, and so now she's going to go catch Peridot. The independent pursuit of Peridot is how a lowering of status is signified in this arc. In a way, Peridot is sort of like a shame baton being passed around to whoever is feeling lowest at that particular moment. Ideally, they'd all be looking for Peridot together as opposed to individually, additionally signifying the cracks in the stability of the team. The way language is used is also a great signifier in how characters are changing. The best example of this is the dialogue that goes on between Ruby and Sapphire. Now, just to refresh from the last time we went into some depth about those two, Ruby is what's called a red Oni archetype, and Sapphire is an example of a blue Oni. Now, you can go back and look at those terms, yourself, but the big key about this is that Ruby is a feeler and Sapphire is a thinker. Ruby talks about things in emotional terms. She uses the word feel a lot.
She tricked us. Don't you feel used? Well, it doesn't feel like it. I'm kind of surprised you felt anything at all, to be honest.
But Sapphire talks about things in terms of logic and reasoning, using words that have to do with observation, like look and see.
Can't you see I'm completely engulfed with rage? And then she'll come back and see that I'm right. I didn't need to feel. I saw.
But people aren't 100% emotional or 100% logical, so locking yourself into one of those two ways of thinking creates a lot of misunderstanding. It's only when they start to make up that they start to switch terms, signaling to us that they're beginning to understand each other's point of view.
We made him feel like it was his fault.
No, this is all my fault. I didn't want to look for a solution. I just wanted to be mad.
There are also a lot of cool little things that come up during this arc. Here they are in no particular order. Begin the jump cut frenzy. In Onion Friend, we finally get confirmation that Sour Cream is Marty and Vidalia's son. Not surprising, since as adults, the two of them getting out of the van together was basically a Chekhov's baby. During the vent crawl scene, the show displays its heavy video game influences. Instead of trucking left to right at a constant rate, it waits until Steven gets to the right side of the frame before rapidly trucking right to reframe the shot. Also, how the light level inside the vent doesn't drop off consistently like it normally would, but drops in stages, is similar to how backgrounds change in old platformer video games. Also, Onion creeps me out worse than the kid in the music video for First of the Year. There, I said it. In Friendship, we see that Peridot is actually packing some heat. She has a projectile energy weapon like Pearl does, further bolstering the fan theory that they are part of the same class of gem, that being some kind of tech. In addition, we now have confirmation that there are many of any given type of gem, due to the second and third confirmed uses of indefinite articles when referring to gems. Ruby says that Pearl used them to make a Sardonyx, and Pearl says that she's just a Pearl. This also brings up the possibility that Steven is the first gem with a unique name, and that parties on Homeworld must be very confusing. Finally, regarding fusion, we learned that there must be some kind of rule that says that fusion dances must be sexy. Okay, so it's not explicitly stated anywhere in the canon, but the evidence is mounting. And that's what we learned this time on Steven Universe Universe. Join us next week as we finally talk about how music impacts the media we consume. I'm Victor Frost, and I'll see you next time on Steven Universe Behind the Screen. But instead of me walking out of frame, how about I give you guys a nice panorama of my home, Los Angeles, California. So I'm coming up to a spot I really like coming to, but I don't really get a chance to do it too often. And it's a, drive up a big hill.